Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, that pod thing that you've been listening to for 220 episodes. Woo! Today is an exciting day for many, many reasons. First of all, it's exciting because this is Ames.
And because this is Caitlin.
Jake.
This is Chris.
Chris is asleep.
And Liz.
That's
And
the
Liz.
excitement.
Hey,
That's the
Liz.
most exciting part.
Liz is here.
Yay, Liz!
Oh, well, you're in trouble then if that's the most exciting part.
I'm really excited Liz is here because we're covering the final 2 episodes of season 6 of Deep Space Nine, which means we're also going to be doing our top bottom 3s at the end of this episode, and that's going to be exciting.
Ooh.
Nice. I'm a top.
Gross.
Not me.
All right, so the 2 episodes we are covering today are The Sound of Her Voice and Tears of the Prophets. Oh, sad prophets.
That's the sound of the prophets weeping.
Wah, wah. Alrighty, so it is Cisco Hates Civilians on the Bridge week here at A Star to Steer Her By, because in The Sound of Her Voice, we start off with Cassidy acting as the convoy liaison aboard the Defiant, a position she clearly doesn't want to do because there's all this paperwork involved, and that Cisco doesn't want her doing because it means she's underfoot all the fucking time. However, we receive a distress call from Captain Lisa Cusack of the USS Olympia. She is stranded on an alien class L planet, which means the air is fucking poison, and there isn't a war going on or anything, so let's take time and go save her. Back on the station. What's that?
Don't you feel like, because class M is like habitable, right?
Yeah,
don't
oxygen,
you feel like,
all the good stuff.
Don't you feel like the air is gonna kill you should make it like a couple of letters lower, like class, I don't know, H? Like, you feel like class L would be, you might have some allergies. Not the air is gonna fucking kill you.
Well, she survived for a few days.
Yeah, with a triox
I don't know. I'm just saying. I feel like
Class
that's a
H,
big,
though,
that's a
Caitlin,
big leap.
Should we just
is helium atmosphere.
I don't know. Is that true?
What?
I don't know. It'd be funny, though.
Well,
Everybody would talk really funny.
Fair.
So meanwhile...
Sorry, Ames, go ahead.
That's okay. I'm glad we got that out of the way. Back on the station, Odo has all the sticks up his ass, and he's been hounding Quark about shit, which is really cramping Quark's style because he just wants to do some smuggling, as he is wont to do. And then he realizes he can use Odo's upcoming 1-month anniversary with Kira to distract him to allow him to do some nefarious bullshit. And Jake tags along, so Sherlock Lofton can have some screen time or something. I'm not entirely certain. O'Brien rigs it up over on the Defiant so that we can now converse with Cusack, and we decide that everyone's gonna take turns talking with her so that she can stay on the line with us and also stay lucid, I think, or just have company. They're being nice to Cusack because she's all alone dying. And one by one, she therapies them better than fucking Troy ever could. She tells O'Brien that his life is a disaster, and he's like, yeah, I fucking know. She tells Bashir that he's this stuck-up brain box, and he's like, but, I'm better than seasons 1 and 2. And she's like, we're fucking over it, lady. And then she tells Cisco that he shouldn't be mixing love and war on the bridge, and he's like, well, all's fair in love and war, not mixing on the bridge. Done. Check that off the list. All this while she's dying on a planet. Go, Captain
It'll definitely
Cusack.
keep you distracted. I mean,
yeah, gotta keep busy. Back on station, Quark has convinced Odo that Kira and he should go on a day in the holodeck, even though Kira has basically always hated the holodeck, but that's fine. And Odo's like, what if I do it the following day? Because our first date, if we remember that episode a couple weeks ago, was fucking garbage. And Quark realizes, oh no, that ruins my plan for nefarious bullshit with the people who wanted to buy some shit.
I think it was a Nausicaan.
Nausicaan, that's what I was trying to think of. I was thinking Tralfamadoran, and that's the wrong species.
Hey.
And this ruins his scheme, so he has a chat with Jake about how unfair it all is because of his love for Odo. But Odo's been listening the whole time as a barrel. Luckily, Worf isn't around. And he realizes, oh, I have all this love for Quark as well. I might as well let him do an extremely illegal thing. And it's very sweet. What's less sweet is the A-plot where we finally make it to the planet. Cusack is unconscious somewhere and they have to find her. It's a race against time because she's dying to death. And we find her, and she's a fucking skeleton who's been dead for 3 years. And they're like, oh no, this has been some time shift-related bullshit. Damn it! So
Never saw it coming.
So in honor of O'Brien's horrible life, we hold an Irish wake for her, and it's quite sweet. And I don't know if we ever checked if she had a family or anything, because it kind of just ends right there. The end.
Fuck 'em.
I mean, they knew she was dead already, right?
I don't know.
I mean, I sure knew from the title of the episode.
The sound of her voice?
Yeah. It's called The Sound of Her Voice. They're getting this distress signal. She's gonna be dead by the time they get there. And, at first I was like, if they're just gonna get, logs and stuff. But then when they started actually talking with her, I thought, okay, there's gotta be some sort of chronal, temporal, hoodly fuckery, which means the signal's actually several years old and blah, blah, blah. And look, there it is.
Wow. See, I felt like the time explanation is a little kludgy, but it makes it work because all their conversations with her were very sweet.
What's kludgy?
Yeah, what is kludgy?
Kludgy, to have been kludged together.
It's a improvised,
Tacked on.
duct tapey, MacGyvery.
Would you say wibbly wobbly timey wimey? Because good, because I fucking hate that shit. So
But yeah,
much.
no, just going into it, it's like, all right, this is good.
Chris has had a really bad cold for a week. He's kind of just given up on everything. I think. He's embittered now.
Well, it's also just very Star Trek,
Yeah.
This is Star Trek, Chris.
I mean, I feel like, because I couldn't remember this episode 100%. I vaguely remember it being an episode, and as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what the ending's going to be. And it wasn't necessarily that because I was thinking, because this is Star Trek and this is how it would end. I was thinking if it were an Asimov or a Ray Bradbury story or something in like Amazing Magazine or something that's a very classic trope. Is that they were speaking with someone who was dead the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, about halfway through the episode, was like, she's been dead the whole time. Woo! And when I was right, I was like, oh.
Yeah, and then Bev perks up because she's like, ghosts?
Yeah. They get there and Bev is definitely fucking her corpse or something.
Oh, I wasn't going that direction.
Yikes.
Listen, that's how Bev does.
Also,
Just
in the
kidding.
A-plot, I feel like I guess I owe Quark 1 is only 75% of the reason Odo decided to do what
That
he
is
did.
not the A-plot.
Yeah.
Did I say either way?
It's
Quark
a
plot.
plot.
Hey.
But in the co-plot there, 75% I feel like was, I owe Quark 1 for some reason. 25% was, I don't want to arrest the captain's son.
Jake wasn't involved in basically any... He was just watching.
Wouldn't he be an accessory, though? Because he's accessory.
Yeah.
See, I had so many, ideas about what they were going to do to twist what Jake's role in this was, and my first thought was, it's going to turn out that Jake Sisko has been deputized, and he's there to watch Quark for Odo while he goes on his date. So basically, Quark is screwed no matter what. And then, when the jig was up, I thought, Jake will go do the transaction himself for Quark, while Quark, gets to play innocent, and he had nothing to do with it.
Oh,
and
that
it
would've been awesome.
ended up being none of the above.
He
really,
definitely
that
would have
whole
been an
plot-
accessory then.
That whole plot just feels like it was time filler, mostly.
Yeah.
They needed to pad the episode, and they're like, okay, we'll do a Quark Odo plot because we haven't done one in a little while.
Yeah, I feel like I can't help but feel like this. I feel like Quark's characterization has been inconsistent this season.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He's been all over
Yeah,
the
big
place.
time.
So much. So with this
There's
one,
been a lot of regression this season, I feel like.
but with this one, he's decidedly unFerengi. I mean, aside from being having his feelings hurt that his boyfriend was gonna not let him do crimes. He just letting Jake shadow him as he conducts a really big financial transaction of an illegal nature. I was waiting for it. I was like, well, what do you get? What are you going to demand in exchange? What's the transaction here?
Well,
Because it should be transactional. Jake buttered him up. Yeah,
right,
but-
because he was like, I could model my lead after you, and, whatever. I mean, I feel
like that's also not great if you're conducting illicit activities, is to have it highlighted, as some Ferengi literary character.
No. My Ferengi bartender is named Quick.
Hey.
Spark.
It's Quirk.
Completely
Quirk. My
OC
Quirk,
do
my
not
boy.
steal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I could see Quark getting, because in addition to just being profit motivated, he's also quite vain.
Oh,
So I
sure.
think the idea that like being a literary figure would appeal to him, even if it is probably not wise necessarily to be recorded doing these illicit shit.
See,
but for something
think,
this high stakes. Good.
Yeah, and I think Quark was also concerned that Jake would get it wrong and portray him. Like he says, like, I don't do nefarious shit. I conduct business. There is a difference, you impotent child.
Really, really long shot reasoning as well. That doesn't really work, but I'm just thinking anyway. Quark is like,
with your mouth.
books become TV shows. TV shows get action figures. I'll be able to have the action figure of me play with my action figure of,
Yeah, I know, his action figure that we saw.
Yeah, his childhood
something
toys.
Mo.
Man.
Yeah, what was that, Jake?
I just said Whippy McWhip Man.
Marauder Mo or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That
sounds right.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. He wants to have him and Marauder Mo go on adventures.
I don't think there is TV in the future, though. It might be a holodeck program.
Sure, that works
How
too.
could there not be TV in the future?
We've never seen them watch TV.
I mean, I know, but I just can't believe that there's no TV in the future.
Yeah, DS9 is surprisingly lacking in the arts. On TNG, like at least on the Enterprise, they watch concerts and plays.
Oh yeah, they did theater all the time.
Yeah, and
but it was always like
violin concerts and whatnot.
Say to learn to paint.
Nerdy stuff. On DS9, they're doing James Bond.
Yeah, porn. It's all porn.
True.
Porn.
They
And
got
Yeah,
the
they-
Battle of Britain.
They got the holosuites, and no one gives a fuck about Shakespeare. It's a Bajoran station. They're like, who's this asshole?
So the Enterprise is theater kids. DS9 is video game nerds.
Ha!
Yes.
I like it.
If you humans like Shakespeare, wait until you meet his Bajoran counterpart, Shout Cloud.
I want that action figure. Just so I can shout at it.
Plus, I mean, after a while, as the honest trailer made implicit, the concerts began to get borderline comical. They happened so often.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have lots more thoughts on the actual A plot. My first thought being, and my first thought that distracted me the entire episode long is, why did nobody look up the U.S. Olympia and Lisa Cusack when they learned her fucking name?
That's true.
'Cause
Because they would
then
have
we
been like,
wouldn't have
oh,
had
the
a
ship
plot.
went down 3 years ago. Yeah.
No, I'll tell you exactly why. Because Dax wasn't there.
True.
If Dax were there, she'd have looked it up. But
Yeah.
nobody else thought to do it.
Do y'all know why Dax wasn't there?
Because she got fired.
I mean,
and
well,
was-
there is
and
that.
was probably like fuck you guys, I'm not showing up to work because you fired me for bullshit reasons.
Yeah, well, she did not extend her contract. We'll talk about this in the second episode. But she was barely around because they basically let her have time to go do casting calls.
Oh, that wasn't far.
Oh, that was nice.
That's pretty decent.
Yeah, in fact, and I'll tell, in case I don't bring this up during Tears of the Prophets, literally the day after filming her scenes in Tears of the Prophets, she went and did her audition for Becker, and she got the role of Reg in Becker.
There we go.
Wait, who's Reg?
She was a main character. She owned the coffee shop. Or
Holy
that little
shit, I
superette.
have to rewatch Becker now.
Becker's pretty good.
It is
Never
pretty
seen
good, and I love Ted Danson.
Oh, that Becker. Okay.
Good for Terry Farrell.
Yeah, she's excellent in that.
Yeah. I feel like as an actor, we've talked about how she kind of got shafted on this show with some poor storylines.
Boys,
But
boys.
yeah, I think she was able to do a lot more on that show.
Yeah. And this show, it took her longer than I was expecting to get any good, so. But we see her in like one fucking scene in this episode where she explains what the Irish wake is instead of Miles explaining what an Irish wake is, which was strange.
Well, you know.
Miles
her
had already
hubby.
had a few at that point. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a weird one, though.
Worf
Like,
just didn't want to get caught talking to him for hours.
I don't know. I was trying to figure out why they bothered to call it an Irish wake, because like it looked like a wake that I had been to, like wakes that I'd been to before that weren't Irish.
It was a little like Geordie and Rose wake back when they thought they were dead during the out of phase episode.
But
Yeah,
no, I
this
feel
is-
like that wake was closer to an Irish wake, because I feel like the whole thing with an Irish wake is it's like more celebratory feel and like music and
Yeah.
things like that. There was no music at the. They should have had Riker's trombone.
Well, it's because they had no. It's because they had no theater nerds on board.
That's true.
There it
There
is.
you go. There you
They
go.
had no stage managers or producers to get the thing up and running and looking good and sounding good.
Yeah,
Well,
Bev,
proper-
Bev looking for
dweeby
ghosts.
Bajoran flute that only plays the theme song.
See, for a proper Irish wake, there needed to be way more cheap beer
And potatoes.
and, a band playing songs about how much the English suck. And people would bring up, like, but it's the 24th century, Ireland's reunited, that's long in the past. There'd still be a band singing about how much the English suck.
Yeah, that's just
You're probably
universal.
right.
Yeah, speaking of the Irish, I actually really kind of liked the scenes with O'Brien this episode, because he's there talking with a doomed woman, being like, I want to be here, so listen to her voice, even though she doesn't know. Before they were on the two-way connection, saying like, I want to listen to her so that someone's listening, because that just seems nice, even though she has no idea. Because, I've suffered my whole fucking life. Let's do something nice for somebody.
Yeah, I did like that. And also, I thought that it seemed like, with O'Brien comfortable listening to someone just in the background as they mutter to themselves, like I'm like that tracks about him.
Yeah.
He's comfortable with bitching in the background.
That's like, some people, I personally sleep with a white noise machine. He turns on Starfleet YouTube of person grumbling into log.
Not like recording a log, just holding a piece of wood and grumbling at it.
I mean, look, the Chief is a big Twin Peaks fan.
Yeah,
Oh, it's funny because this episode, they sort of, I forget if it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, we were discussing Star Trek's antipathy towards formalized psychiatric care.
Mm-hmm.
And his discussion with Captain What's-Her-Name was basically like laying bare their thesis. It's like, oh, well, had I known this was coming, we could have talked about it now. But, just go back a week or two.
I was trying to figure out
you
what
know what it
the
is. He's
point
probably
was.
lamenting the fact that he wasn't able to get any proper treatment for Molly.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, there's
Man,
that.
I could have just sent her to this planet, this Class L planet. Would have solved everything.
Like, I was trying to figure out what the intent was in that, because, like, there was a whole, I just like the idea of a ship's counselor, and I don't like the idea that only someone with a diploma can listen to your problems or give you advice. It's like, oh, that's what friends are for. I'm like, yes, that's your friends love bearing the emotional burden. But then moments later, it's not, then, moments later, Miles says, oh, it's not the kind of thing you talk about with them. I'm like, okay, yes.
You're
But she's
making
steered
the
him back
opposite
around.
point you think you are.
But like I guess the idea was that Cusack talked him around to it, because she's like, well, then who's left to talk to then? Oh, a ship's counselor.
Ship's counselor.
Guinan.
Yeah,
So at least there's
Quark.
the bartender.
Vic.
Not Vic. I wrote in my notes, like, really big, Lisa greater than Vic.
No, as we found out in the Molly episode, if somebody's psychological issues are too overwhelming to deal with, you throw them in a pit, so that send them back in time to live alone on a planet.
We call that the Spartan method.
No.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Speaking of people that were left alone in a pit, so Captain Cusack.
Oh, yes.
I didn't get they didn't show a real lingering shot of the corpse, but it looked to me and correct me if I'm mistaken here, but it looked to me like the corpse of a white lady.
Yes.
It did.
Yeah.
Which I found a little interesting. They Vadered Cusack.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They have an actor of color.
Yeah, Deborah Wilson.
Performing the voices.
She's excellent.
And then, who did a great job, right?
Yeah.
Who's like, because I looked her up. She was on Mad TV for many years.
And she's a great voice actress as well.
As we learned in this episode. But like, and then they Vadered her. We see her, and white lady.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I
like,
didn't realize she was an actress of color.
yeah, she's a black woman. Yeah, I think she had like a very that 90s like brown straight hair, long bob. And you can make an argument that, you know, you could still have a non-white woman with that hair, but it's still they're enforcing norms that are no.
yeah.
I also
I'm
wonder.
not giving them the benefit of the doubt.
I have a feeling they made the dead person prop before they cast Deborah Wilson, perhaps?
That's what I would
That's
guess.
possible.
Because I know when they did the casting, they specifically did it in such a way that they only cast the voice. They didn't actually have the artists in the room because they wanted to make sure they could just listen to the voice and be able to picture like how the character is and all this stuff. So they only got a tape reel, basically, of Deborah Wilson doing the thing. And they picked her and said, okay, so your character is a 54-year-old white woman from 3 years ago. And she's like, I'll play whatever. It's my voice, so whatever you guys want. If you like my voice, this is what you're getting.
Yeah.
Oh, so they knew. So they told her that the character was white.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Probably because they'd already made the prop, is my guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because I was like, why would they? If they hadn't made the prop at that point, they could have just. There was no reason why the character had to be white.
Now I'm just picturing like every black comedian doing their white voice, and it's making me laugh a lot.
Oh no!
Like, you know, I don't know who. I mean, Eddie Murphy has a good one. But the one I think I'm thinking of is like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, Dave
he's
Chappelle's
talking
got
about
the best
I was gonna
white
say when he's talking about
voice.
his friend, he gets pulled over by the police or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I didn't know I couldn't do that," or whatever. So now I'm just, I don't know. I don't know what the logical conclusion is to this. It would be really funny if she was like, you know, and white women talk like this. You know, I don't know.
Oh no. But yeah.
Well, regardless, I thought she sounded brilliant, and I loved getting to know her. And I am a little bummed that they wouldn't have used, you know, made her a character of the appropriate race. But I thought she did beautiful work.
Or an alien. An alien was always
An alien
fun.
would have been fine.
Benzite corpse.
Here you go.
I do like from the original distress call. I like the thought that occurred to me as I listened to that call was like, this is a voice actor. Like, this is someone who specializes more than others in voice acting, just because it felt so much more natural and nuanced as a vocal performance than the usual distress calls you get. Like,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
solid through the whole episode.
Yeah, I wonder if they had the actress on set doing the lines, or
I
if
have
they
stories.
just had like an assistant reading them and then they dubbed it in.
They had her in another room. They did not let her interact with the cast when doing this stuff, because basically, like I read, like they had her basically in another room doing the lines, and then just had them coming in through speakers in whatever room, like Cisco or Miles or Julian were in. As far as they didn't ever get let Worf talk to her, that was kind of sad.
But that's actually pretty cool though, because so she was taping her lines in real time as they were taping the scene. That's the idea?
That's unclear. I don't know if she was. I assume she was taping them at the same time, but she could have also just been delivering them for the live actor.
I guess the question is, was she performing with the actors in the scene, right? So
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah,
cool.
she was just a room over, basically.
Yeah, versus
'cause-
like, you know, just she did all of her lines in a sound booth, you know, later, and you know, so that's how you kind of got, you know, the the performances felt natural. It didn't feel like somebody was talking half of a conversation and then the other person was filling in the blanks.
Yeah, because so often in a show like this, you would have, just the third assistant director yell out the lines of the people that are over the radio, and then they are dubbed in later. So I think they understood the importance, though, of, because this was a strictly vocal performance from her end, like, standard procedure wouldn't work here.
Right, and because it is a conversation with people who all they have of her is her voice, which is I loved the idea for this episode of trying to find someone whose voice you can only hear.
Yeah. Yeah, I should clarify, like, I saw it coming, but I still think overall that plot was good. Like, I like the idea. With the impact at the end was slightly lessened because I saw it coming, but it was still like, it was different. It's like watching something where there's a twist and it, and you're just kind of like, oh, you poor bastards.
Yeah, but what will their reactions to the twist be and all this stuff?
Exactly.
Like, it can still be worth it. Do you want to know what the original idea was?
Ooh, okay. Well, hold on. I'm going to try to guess based on the history of this show and your original pitch things. Nog gets shore leave, and him and Jake are going to go to Bryza to do some surfing.
You're not close at all, but that is as far off as some of the original ideas have been. Next week, next episode, the original ideas are like bizarre. But no, the original idea for this episode is we're getting the voice of this woman from the year 1940 in like New York or something.
Huh.
But Sisko and crew know the whole time that it's from the past. So it's a matter of, you can talk with this woman, but you can't let her know that she's not in the same time as you and that you're in the future. And that Sisko would kind of fall in love with her a little bit, which I think is extra bullshit because, again, Cassidy's a fucking catch.
But what if the woman he was talking to in New York was the character that Cassidy played in Far Beyond the Stars?
She'd be a child.
Good point.
Yeah.
Ew.
In 1940?
Oh, I'm just saying move it up so that it's contemporary.
Oh, I see.
Far Beyond the Stars.
That's funny, but
not
stupid.
Literally falling in love with a child, because that would be strange.
That would be gross. Now, I when I read that, I was just like, oh, of course, because the first scene with Sisko and Cusack talking, what was standing out to me was like, this is some nice platonic intimacy for once between a male and female character. Like, and I'm sitting there like, and it's only because he's already got a love interest. Like, if Cassidy weren't there, they'd be falling in love right now, and it would be so tired. But as it is, for whatever reason that we have it, like, I really liked that chemistry, and that they made this a very just, like, it was intimate. It was a very strong bond between them. That was very nice to hear.
He's able to be vulnerable with her because he doesn't have her staring at him like, dude, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So when I read the original concept, I was like, ugh.
Also, it's interesting to see, like, you so rarely see captains together in informal circumstances.
Oh, I like that.
That's true.
They're usually, if they're together, it's because there's a conference, or it's some sort of delegation, or it's we're planning a thing. It's just two captains sort of on, for lack of a better term, downtime, getting to compare notes.
Yeah.
And getting to decompress. Because I feel like we do see socializing between captains from time to time. It's just in a very chummy, more distant sort of way. Like, this is very much both have let their guards down. Like, both of them are like, we are like strung out. We are in very stressful situations, both of us. Let's just vent a little bit. Let's just
well, because usually those meetings are, again, in some sort of at least semi-formalized circumstance, like, even if it's technically like some sort of like conference, there's still that level of like, we're kind of on the job thing.
Here's a question, and it may be just some context that I missed. is we learned that the Olympia was putting around doing shit in the Beta Quadrant, and then it hit something and went into the shuttlecraft, so it went into this planet. Where are we? Where the fuck are we? Because we're somewhere in the Alpha Quadrant where DS9 is. How did we decide, well, let's go, like, are we close enough to the Beta Quadrant that we go find her? How does space work?
I think
So-
the maps that I saw, like, generally the Federation kind of straddles the Alpha Beta Quadrant air. Like the species that we know of, like the Klingons and Romulans are like the Klingons I think are on the border between the Alpha and Beta Quadrants, and the Romulans are mostly in the Beta Quadrant.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah,
it's
something
all
like that.
sort of in the neighborhood.
Yeah, like that's what I remember too. Is generally the Federation I think is pretty much completely in the Alpha Quadrant, but the Klingons and Romulans, overlap to varying degrees. The Klingons more so. So like, yeah, and because again we talked about this a few weeks ago, quadrants obviously are enormous because the galaxy's huge. So I mean, to take an 8-year journey to the, you go 4 years out in one direction, 4 years back. So, that's the real son of a bitch. They were on their last leg when their goddamn ship kerploded because they decided to scan a planet and
Yeah, don't scan that planet.
broke everything.
Yeah, that does suck.
8 years worth of data lost. That sucks.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
I remembered in this episode that it was a time situation, but for some reason I thought it was way longer.
Like it was
I thought
100
was
years?
like 100 years or something. Like we'd see her and she'd be like in a TOS
TOS.
movie uniform. And like, I don't know, it making it only a couple of years makes it both more tragic, I think, but also, I don't know. There was something unsatisfying for me anyway in the fact that it's only like, oh, we're a couple of years too late versus like it would have been really tragic if they were literally hours late.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there wouldn't be that time issue at all. It would just be
yeah.
literally what is happening.
Yeah, it's just like, oh crap, we didn't make it in time. So it's weird. I don't know. There's something weird. Like if it had been longer, if it had been like 100 years, I would have been like, okay, that's interesting. That's, they did the time thing. Cool. If they had just arrived late, I'd be like, man, that sucks. It was tragic. They did the best they could, but that's just how life is sometimes. But the fact that they like wanted to hedge and make it like, oh, it's 3 years ago.
Well, I think the problem is they have to, because otherwise there's no way for them to like conceivably talk with her as much as they did and
Without
not have
realizing?
somebody. Yeah, like the minute the chief brings up the Cardassian Wars, someone from 100
What's
years
a
ago goes,
Cardassian?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like
Should
it
be
really,
asking about Admiral Kirk, and they'd be like, oh, honey. Oh, no.
yeah, like that's what it had to be, or otherwise, like we'd be sitting here going, how did no one ever say anything that gave away the fact that the gap was that huge?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Plus, I think it's nice that they don't have to also grapple with guilt about, like, just barely missing it. Like, the fact that there was nothing they could have done, I feel like, I don't know how it changes it, but it feels like it just makes it so they can be like, wow, what a shame, she was such a nice lady, instead of being like, if only we had, thrown a few pieces of cargo off and could have moved faster.
Jettison
Return.
Jake.
Turn down the damn lights. They're talking about, how can we get some energy? I'm like, maybe turn down the lights you have blasting on full 24/7?
Consider now that we have light bulbs that, like, run on very little anything, and they last for 10 years.
No, I know,
Then
but I
go
meant,
300 years in the future and consider what a minuscule amount of power the lights on a spaceship really probably takes.
no, I know.
Sorry, a
So
starship.
every little bit counts,
I mean, okay, but...
Turn off the heated seats on the toilets. And
Absolutely not. I draw
Cannot
the
do
line
that.
there.
Jesus.
What are we, savages?
What's wrong with you, man?
I
I just want to know what paperwork Bashir has to do that it's like, I don't know. I'm like what he kept talking about how he had so much paperwork and he was so distracted with paperwork and paperwork kept coming up. And what is the paperwork?
I assume it's
Death
intelligence.
certificates? What's he doing?
Section 31.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, like
well-
especially at the beginning when he comes in while Cassidy and Cisco are talking, and he's like, stuff, paperwork for Starfleet Medical. And I'm like, I don't know, you're coming in pretty dour looking. Sounds like you've been doing spy stuff.
I could see that.
Yeah, this episode starts off and everybody's kind of in a mood. And it's like, oh yeah, we're still doing the everyone's in a mood because of war all the time. And I felt like we had seen that before, which was when you realize it's because, Cisco doesn't want Cassidy on the bridge because it makes him feel uncomfortable or something. And it's like, where did that come from? I don't know. I was confused.
Yeah, I kind of didn't understand until the end, like when Cassidy was asking O'Brien about, like, do I make you uncomfortable? And O'Brien's like, no. She's like, oh, but I mean, like a civilian on the ship. Like, I didn't really understand why she was asking him that until the end, because then I was like, oh, it's because Cisco's acting standoffish and she thinks it's just because they're not used to having people because she didn't want it to just be her. So I was like, I'm glad that it clarified at the end, but at that point, I was like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable.
Of course, also, you went to the chief, which is like the only enlisted man on the ship. So his point of view is slightly different.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my god, a person who wants to talk to me? Yay!
I also assumed
Haven't seen
that
Keiko in years.
that the mood because war thing was also highlighted for, to lead into, everybody just unloading on Cusack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like half of them were angry about paperwork and the other half were angry about war. So I feel like Cassidy was bitching about paperwork too. So
Well,
Bashir and Cassidy are team no paperwork, and everybody else is like the Dominion sucks.
Well, a lot of the paperwork is because of the war, so certainly all of Cassidy's
I'm
was.
sure that on the average day, most of these people spend a lot of their time doing paperwork.
No, that's right. The only exception is, in fact, Cassidy, who
Yeah.
normally only has to deal with the stuff for her own ship.
She's her own boss. If she doesn't want to do paperwork, she doesn't have to.
Yeah. I mean,
But for Starfleet, she probably has to be like, every, I don't know, parsec they travel. She has to. I don't even know what a parsec is. Anyway, the point is,
Well,
she probably
Starfleet's
has
also
to,
probably
like every
keeping
single
extra tabs
fart,
on her.
she probably has to document. What did you say,
especially
Jake?
since they're probably keeping extra tabs on her just because she just got out of jail for smuggling shit to the Maquis.
Yeah, tell me she doesn't have like a fucking ankle bracelet on. Like, how would they be like, oh yeah, we know that you betrayed us and everything, but like, you want to get back to work? We've lost a lot of people.
Congrats, you're our
A
liaison.
lot of people.
Oh boy.
Seriously, like, how much of that is desperation and how much of that is it's good to be fucking Cisco?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet you Cisco hooked that up.
Yeah.
But still, that's even then, like, god damn.
I also question his desire to hook that up, though. Especially since he's apparently regretting that choice.
Well, it's like, who wants to work with their girlfriend, right?
Boo.
Not when they've got all that
Sorry.
paperwork to do. If you can be sneaking off to the, like, supply closet to get a little quickie in, it's one thing.
That's
but
true.
That bitch is
Supply
always doing
closet.
paperwork.
I mean, it's sort of, like, I guess it depends, because, like, the work you do, for example, I don't want to do. So, like, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to work in your office, but if you worked in mine, like, sure, okay. Like, your work actually requires caring about human beings and...
Don't tell my ex-boss
Stuff.
that. She'll be really surprised.
No shit.
No. Speaking about caring about human beings, somehow, like the Irish Wake thing where everybody gives a speech about how Lisa impacted them and all this thing. Julian was very strange in that he ended up making it all about him, which was a choice.
That's the theme of this week, Ames.
When we've seen a lot of growth from Julian over the past couple seasons, and now it's like, nope, I'm just selfish all the time now. Lisa figured it out within 5 minutes of talking with me that I'm an asshole. I'm working on it.
Big time regression this whole season. And again, like, I have a lot to say about that next episode too. Like,
Yeah, though I did like a lot of him in this episode, mostly because I mean, when he's serious, competent Dr. Bashir, I'm like, no, this does it for me. I'm cool with this.
same.
I also thought it was a strange choice where we have Lisa doing a little ploy where it's like, I'm going to check to see if Julian's actually listening to me.
Hilarious.
By pretending that I'm being attacked by a monster. And I noticed, because, we watch this on Netflix where there are not commercial breaks, but you can see where the commercial break was in the middle of it. And I'm like, the second she starts acting like this, I'm like, this is a ploy to get Julian's attention. Commercial break in the middle of a joke. Then they return and she finishes the joke.
I love it. It was just like, okay, she's not just fucking with Bashir, she's fucking with the audience. Okay.
Well, and again, this speaks to what you said before too, Liz. Though, is like this is an excellent voice actress because we buy this hook, line, and sinker, and then then you hear the goofy voice she does, but even then, it was still a well fleshed out, separate character she was doing, and
backstory and everything.
Brava,
It's a monster who just does not look kindly on rudeness.
No. What do you care? What do you care if I ate her? You weren't listening to her.
Okay, can we talk about that planet again, though? Now that we're
The Class L planet.
Yeah. So, like, I guess this is what Caitlin was talking about too. But I think the reason it's I guess presumably one class category over from habitable planet is because it is technically temporarily habitable. Because, like, when we see them, shuttle down to go and look for Cusack, they're not wearing any equipment, right? Like, they're just in their uniforms.
No.
They're just standing there while rain is pouring down on them. So presumably that rain is water, or at least something as mild as water.
I wonder. So, if a habitable planet is Class M, I think that's more about, like, what elements are there already that could sustain life. Yeah. And Class M planets just have all the ingredients. They may not necessarily be habitable in their current state, but you could probably, like, grow some plants, do some shit on the planet. It has all the elements that are necessary in the right proportions.
Right.
Whilst a Class L, they say specifically, like, there is a ton of carbon dioxide in this atmosphere, on the world, on the surface, where you would be doing the breathing. You wouldn't be able to live here, but it has these ingredients.
Yeah, I feel like it makes sense here where it's not quite Class M because in order to stay long term, you need special equipment. You need you need to employ some sort of you need the triox, or you need to build a habitation dome or something like that, because the environment on its own cannot sustain life in the long term. Because hypoxia.
But if that's the case, what is an A? What would a Type A planet be then? Jupiter?
On fire. Just nothing but fire.
I don't know. 'Cause I don't know that the planet classes are necessarily like
alphabetical.
Actually, an alphabetical listing of from can survive to can't survive, with M being in the middle at like the most habitable. I don't know. I really don't know what the class, because I'm sure that like there are weird class planets that are like the atmosphere is just is a fluid or something.
That would be a Class J, a type of gas giant.
Well, there you go.
Oh, so Jupiter is not an A, but a J.
Mm-hmm.
That fits.
You can call me J.
They have all the classes here?
All that have been spoken, which are very few. Class D, uninhabitable planetoid, moon, or small planet.
I got your Class D right here.
Hey.
Heyo.
Good example being Regula. Class H, generally...
Wait, which Regula?
From Star Trek 2.
Regula 1.
The one the space station was orbiting.
Okay.
Class H, generally uninhabitable for humans, though viable for Sheliak.
For who?
Ah.
The Sheliak.
Oh, right, because
What is a
they were going
Sheliak?
to wipe out that Federation
Colony. Yeah.
Whether you leave or not, and Data's going to blow up your waterworks.
Yes. Class J, gas giant. Class K, adaptable for humans by use of artificial biospheres.
Okay.
Class L, marginally habitable with vegetation, but usually no animal life. Class M, of course. N and R have been mentioned, but not been given descriptors. T is a different kind of gas giant from a Class J. And
Like
Class...
a hot Jupiter or something?
Maybe.
Oh, probably.
And Class Y, demon.
Ooh. Oh,
A
yeah,
world
the
with
Demon
a-
class planet.
What?
Yeah.
A world with a toxic atmosphere and surface temperatures exceeding 500 degrees Kelvin.
This is where B'Elanna goes in Voyager, isn't
So
it?
like Venus.
I'm pretty sure it is a Voyager thing. But I
Prone
don't
to
think
thermionic radiation
B'Elanna goes to literal
discharges.
hell in Voyager.
What? What?
There's an episode of Voyager
We're
where
just gonna get
B'Elanna
weird.
goes to Stovacor,
I mean,
the place.
it sounds kind of just also where like the Pah Wraiths hang out.
Wait,
Speaking
did you
of
say
the Pah Wraiths,
Stovacor is like hell?
Well,
No.
afterlife. The afterlife.
All right, because I thought Stovacor was like the good place.
yeah, it's Great Thor is hell.
It's like Elysium or something.
Oh.
Valhalla.
Well, that's different. Going to literal hell or literally literal heaven is a big difference.
Yeah.
There's my segue.
There is a river
Nope.
of like a lake of blood or something.
And there it goes.
There it
Am I right,
goes.
Ames?
There it goes. Every time I'm like, let's move on
Rolling down the
To the-
Where are we moving
river.
on from?
to talking about heaven and hell. Let's talk about some prophets because Jesus
Hey.
fucking Christ. Tears of the prophets. All right, here we are doing the thing. Admiral Ross comes over and gives Cisco the Christopher Pike beeping wheelie chair of honor.
Fuck.
And then he tells him, we're putting you in charge of invading Cardassia. Good luck! And then yeets the fuck out of there. So Cisco decides to pull a Cisco and target the Chintoka system, where, unbeknownst to Starfleet, Damar is installing these CGI-ass weapons platforms that are gonna suck a whole lot. Good choice, Cisco. A whole bunch of shit is happening on DS9. I'm gonna skip some of it because there's a lot happening here. One of the things is Jadzia and Worf reveal that they want to have better children than Alexander. And even though we've been done with it for the last several seasons, Quark and Bashir go have a mope with fucking Vic. God damn it, Vic. Because
Complete with full-length song.
all of the whole fucking song, 8 minutes of song,
No, it wasn't. It was
It was like 2
it was
minutes.
like 2 verses. It was not
it
that
was
much song.
way too long.
Oh, it was
Approximately
too
3
much.
years.
Wait a minute. I didn't say it was not too much. I just said it wasn't that much.
15 minutes of song. Just
3.5 hours of song. It was a full opera.
yeah,
The song is still
they're just
going.
they're moping that they're not banging Jadzia. Gross, guys. Real fucking gross. So we also get, aside from a very long song, is a very long boardroom scene in which the Romulans just sass at the Klingons for like 20 minutes. I paid no attention during that scene because I tuned out. So apologies, I had no idea what went on in that scene.
No, you pretty much nailed it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in Dominion Land, Dukat is back from his mental breakdown, and he's here to swagger up the place, which I'm into. And he decides, I have a plan that's even crazier than a Cisco plan. I want to attack the prophets themselves. To which I say, fuck yes, Dukat, you go get him, buddy. Speaking of the prophets, Cisco has another one of his lame-ass visions. They're getting lamer and lamer every time we see them.
They really are.
Yeah.
And they tell him something entirely indiscernible, and he's like, damn it, prophets, can't you just appear in a piece of toast like normal gods? Jeez. And Ross gives him this amazing speech about how, Cisco, pick a fucking lane, dude. Do whatever you want as long as you make a damn decision. So we decide, Chintoka system as planned it is. Yay!
Even though the prophets just explicitly told me not to go, I'm gonna go.
It wasn't that explicit because they're really dumb in how they tell you to do things.
Yeah, but he knew what they meant.
Yeah, no, he's an idiot. Dukat, who, God, we've been saying Dukat's gone full-ass supervillain now, and it's great, and I'm loving it. He goes and gets himself possessed by Cost Emojin,
Oh, I hated it.
who will remember, or it'll be clearer that Cost Emojin is that same Pah Wraith that possessed Jake a couple weeks ago. So really, all of this is Kai Wynn's fault. I'm going to blame her.
Oh, that's, yeah.
And he goes over to Deep Space Nine, since we've entirely forgotten that the Dominion can just beam themselves wherever they want, and they're fucking unstoppable, and go Dukat go. Let's see what else happens. On the Defiant, Jake is underfoot, as Cassidy was last episode, and Garrick has been here just to give Andy Robinson something to do. And he figures out how to take down these weapons platforms that are fucking us every which way after a space battle that I also tuned out during, because space battles are boring. Back on
Turns out.
station. Turns out what?
No, that's all. Turns
Yeah.
out space battles are boring.
I don't like
I was
them.
agreeing with you.
And they're
No, I was
super
agreeing.
CG now. CGI.
Oh,
Jed-
one sec. We have a cat passing through. Oh, careful.
That was an amazing face he just made, Chris.
Yeah, I was concerned he was about to do to my palm what he did to my leg last week, but he did not.
Oh, yeah. Phantom got Chris good last week.
Somehow it always looks like he's stepping on your balls, Chris, because your eyes pop all the way out of your
And
head
yet-
and then
I
go
don't
back
think
in
he-
again.
I don't think he ever does. I don't think Phantom's really ever stepped on your balls. Dimitri is more of a ball trotter than Phantom.
Ball trotter.
That's right.
Excellent. Speaking of ball trotting, Jadzia is now fully baby crazy. And she decides to go say hi to the prophets, even though she doesn't even believe in them in the first place. And that's when Cost Emojin strides in his sexy Ducat suit, and he just kills the fuck out of her. And we're like, oh, that happened. And then he grabs the orb of defecation, or whatever the fuck it's called. And he just turns it off, which is also wild. And that implodes the wormhole entirely. Not what he planned, but hooray! No more wormhole. The Bajorans are freaking the fuck out because the prophets are gone, which made me laugh a lot. And everyone else is sad because Jadzia is dying, which didn't make me laugh except that Bashir came in to deliver the news wearing his very, very, very stupid surgical scrubs. I'm so sorry. All right, so the Dax symbiote is saved. Jadzia sadly dies. Worf does the yell. And unlike in The Sound of Her Voice...
He's got to work on that. His yell is bad, always.
Aw, poor Worf.
Every time I've seen him do it, which maybe has only been like really twice, but it's never good.
No. His
Michael
chant
Dorn
was
needs
good.
to work on it.
And then we end with, unlike The Sound of Her Voice, we don't get the Irish wake. We get a really heartfelt monologue from Sisko about how he has failed both sides of his character. So he's decided to take his ball and go be a chef or something. The end. And that was a lot.
Not even. He's like a
shucking the
sous chef or some shit.
Yeah, he was like doing like the bitch work in the kitchen.
Bitchin'
I'm
in
just
the
gonna get my
kitchen.
kitchen.
Cleaning muscles and stuff.
The smallest quibble I need to get off my chest
Yeah?
was like he's out back and he's scrubbing clams, and Jake comes out and is like, Grandpa says he's gonna close down the restaurant soon. And I'm sitting there like, then why is he fucking scrubbing clams? That's food prep. Like you do that when you're like when you're ready to soak and cook them later.
No, here's
Well,
the
maybe
thing.
he was just
They
getting the
just
grid
serve
out so they could
day-old
close them
seafood.
tomorrow.
I heard none of what either of you just said.
I think we said the same thing, but Jake, go ahead.
I was just saying that the Cisco's restaurant does not really practice good shellfish hygiene,
Oh,
and they're
no.
just going to serve those the following day.
Great.
Next day's fine.
Or it's for dinner. Their dinner.
Could be their dinner.
They haven't eaten yet. Or he's just going to chuck them at kids.
Yes,
He's
that's
going
the
to
one.
sit on the lawn,
Chuck 'em and
grumpy,
chuck 'em.
having a mint julep because it's the South.
Shuck 'em and chuck 'em.
Just like, hey, kid, fling. Kid's like,
I haven't had a mint julep while we recorded in a long time.
Why not?
I don't know.
Oh, I should
Especially since it's
also
just a gin and tonic.
I should also mention this is the 150th episode of DS9.
Damn.
We beat them. Jesus.
so Vic's back.
Fucking Vic.
But what I appreciate is this time Vic is like, move the fuck on. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I do always hate that Vic kind of has, it's not even empathy. It's like it's almost mind reading that he's like, you're sad about Jadzia and Worf having a baby at some point. And they're like, how the fuck do you know that? And he says, I just put it together with my cybernetic
No.
brain.
No, I'm always on. I read your personal logs.
Well, but
He
also
watches
they.
I am the show. Oh my god, he's Pup.
No!
Pup wasn't erased.
That
Pup
would be amazing
integrated
if
with
they
Vic.
had done that.
So here's the thing, though. Like, we already know that he can visit other Holod suites, so he probably just overheard Jadzia and Worf talking about baby crazy times.
Yeah.
And then also they requested that fucking loser song.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that
Yeah, he put two and two together.
that's what I mean.
Putting those
I'm
two
not just
together,
saying.
yeah.
I'm just saying that like it doesn't exactly take a fucking genius to work that one out.
He actually they requested Loser, but then he started doing the Richard Cheese version of the Beck song.
Richard
They were like-
Cheese?
He was so before fucking that YouTube dork came along and did like old-timey covers of modern songs, there was Richard Cheese, who did lounge versions of pop songs.
Okay, this
Dick
has nothing to do with
Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese.
No.
No.
Charles
Dick Cheese.
Entertainment Cheese? Wow.
Entertainment is my middle name.
That's correct.
No, it is. They established
correct.
that. That is officially, that is canonically what the E stands for.
Mr. Cheese is my father.
But what about Mayor McCheese? Where does he fit into the cheese empire?
God.
In Scotland. So okay, aside from the fact that we have to see Vic Fontaine at all and listen to a whole ass song.
So much
The other
song.
thing, this is
Okay,
I feel
but
like
half a song.
I feel like the 5 years of song. I feel like this was another missed opportunity for Ferenginess. Because, like, I mean, first of all, this is the first time, like, well, maybe it's probably not the first time, but, like, it's very unusual to see Quark in a holosuite. It's not usually,
is.
it's not usually what he does.
That's a good point.
We don't, like, that's what he sells, you know? Like, he's busy running other things and making money elsewhere.
If he's in the holosuite, he can't be making money from the holosuite.
It's like that Punnett Square I've seen where it's like how people get entertained, and it's like, you know, poor people entertaining poor people is theater. Rich people entertaining rich people is finances.
But
I was going to say an Eyes Wide Shut party.
oh, goodness.
Oh my.
Yeah, there's a holosuite program for that. But, like, his reaction to Vic, I would have expected more out of him. The most we get was when he's like, what is he, a telepath? Which, like, I would, you know, in my mind, would send Quark down a thought train of, like, so he's, like, all-knowing and also
Turn him off. Turn him off,
yeah,
Quark.
It's either turn him off because, like, I have this infecting my holosuite system. I don't like this. I don't. Well, what is he going to mess with that I can't control, or that I'm going to need to get my brother to try and fix? And two, how can I make more money off of this? Can we make more Vic Fontaines? Because everyone seems to love this guy. Can we make a Vic Fontaine franchise? Can we sell him out to other holosuite users elsewhere in the quadrant?
Well,
It's
he
like-
did say he'd be spending more time there, so maybe that's what he meant by it.
It's like old Vic
be
Fontaine,
nice.
but he's got a new hat. New hat.
Vic Fontaine, but it's a lady and tits.
Ooh.
Tits Fontaine.
Tits Fontaine. There it is.
Here's the other issue, though, is like, I don't give a shit that Julian and Quark are still holding a candle for Jadzia, because that's
No.
stupid as hell.
Yeah, no, like, Julian especially was, like, over that. We ditched that aspect of his character.
Yes, they
He'd
were
grown
friends.
up.
They cuddled to stay alive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we've gotten past all this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's sad to see the regression.
I care because it's fucking stupid. I hate it.
And it's also,
I really hate it.
it's also annoying from Quark, but not
Well-
as annoying because he's Quark.
Well, but again, like, also, though, we've already seen him reverting back
Yeah.
to this bullshit, too. I mean, not to mention, obviously, the most transphobic, fucked up, rapey episode ever. Like, you know, him being like, just a reminder that I'm your boss and you should fuck me if you want to keep me happy stuff. It's like, great, yeah, we had forgotten that you had that fuck your employees clause, but now we remember again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't understand why the end of this. And honestly, like, even Jadzia, who is getting the goddamn shaft, has gone from boys to babies,
Yeah.
which to me is just the other side of the same fucking coin. You know, it's like,
to clarify though, he's a Klingon. She's getting the shafts.
I was waiting to get that joke in, Chris. I'm glad you did it instead of me.
But no, like, but you're spot on, Caitlin, because, like, between this and, you know, Prophet and Lace and, like, so many other just bullshit moments throughout this season, I sat there wondering, like, what dude took over took a dominant role in the writing team to suddenly make everything just gross.
It's the same team. That's the weirdest thing.
Like,
It's
what
been
the
the
hell
same team for the last
happened?
couple seasons. Ever since Michael Piller walked off and Ira Bear got the show running, he's been the one more or less in charge, and there's been a lot of good stuff that they've done.
Yeah, so what the fuck happened? Like,
well, keep in mind that Ira Stephen Bear thought that Prophet and Lace was gonna be like, you know,
A classic
Oh, that was
Yeah.
comedy
Piller.
episode.
Pillar said that.
Oh,
Pillar said this will
okay.
be
I
a
thought that was-
classic.
oh, okay, I thought that was Ira
Can we
Stephen Bear.
somehow blame
Berman.
The ghost of Roddenberry?
That too.
I mean, it's just like, this is, I watch this and I'm like, oh god, it's so dated. It's so just like that old school humor of just, like, what, I mean, you guys already talked about Prophet and Lace, but I was just like, it was stuff like that where I'm watching it and I'm just suddenly like, I'm having just this vision in my head of a room full of men talking about, experiencing things as a woman. I'm like, yeah, this is great stuff. Glad you decided to waste time on this when we could have, like, Klingons and Romulans. Great, thanks.
Flames to the side of my face.
Well,
like,
and
we had good, like, Wayun Dukat moments. That Romulan senator was, like, my favorite. He was great. I thought
He was the
gloriously
sexiest
on.
one.
But I kind of felt bad during that scene, though, because he basically kept just insulting Martok to his face, and everybody kept being like, Martok, calm down! And it's like, okay, but on the other hand, this guy basically just keeps being like, oh, it's a good thing this savage doesn't understand anything I'm saying, and Martok's like, you fucking patak! And they're like, no. I don't know. I'm just saying, he's, speaking of getting the shaft, as far as I know, Romulans only have the one. Stop it. Stop it. That's enough.
No,
But
none of that.
I don't know. I think my impression of that was, it's like, okay, the Romulans, we were about to lose this war, and then the Romulans came in, and they know that they came in and saved everybody's
I'm
ass
sorry.
by joining the war.
We tricked them into joining the war.
Well, they don't know that part yet. So really, Sisko's getting the last laugh in this room. But they think that they came in and saved everybody's ass, and they know that they have leverage and that they can afford to be insulting people, because it's not like Martok's gonna say, we don't want your help anymore. So
Martok might say that, and they might have to say, don't listen to him!
well, that's probably why they're telling Martok to shut the fuck up and calm down, because they know if this escalates, that's what'll happen.
That's probably true. Fine, but still.
Yeah, that would be my read on it, too.
They should have enlisted the First Federation. This war would have been over yesterday.
We fought like
clearly.
puppets.
Yep.
You know that they've developed a Corbomite bomb at this point, so just dump that on Cardassia.
So I quoted her earlier, and now I can't help but think, Madeline Kahn, should we have seen her as a Klingon? Because I think it would have worked.
I think she'd make a great Romulan.
I think should have been her character from Blazing Saddles and had sex with a Klingon and is like, is it true about Klingons? And then she's like, it's twoo. What with the two dicks and all.
Thank you for clarifying.
But seriously, folks. But no, I would honestly, Madeline Kahn should have been in everything, so I would have been fine with that.
We watched Blazing Saddles recently. Overall, its message still hits pretty effectively. We also recently rewatched Young Frankenstein. Couple of jokes there haven't aged great, but overall it holds up.
Okay, we have a lot of Tears of the Prophets to talk about without talking about movies Madeline Kahn has been in.
That's true.
I mean,
what about a movie that she wasn't in? Because there are a couple jokes in Iron Man that don't hit so well anymore either.
the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know.
So seriously though, joking aside, it's interesting because
joking aside, there really are some off-color jokes in Iron Man. Go on.
I feel like kind of like this is one of those episodes where like everything and nothing happens simultaneously.
Oh my god, I had the same reaction where that was a lot that happened. I feel like we haven't made a ton of ground.
Yeah, like
we got the Chintaka system.
Was all fucking over the place.
Yeah, we got the Chintaka system, and they finally did it, Ames.
Yay!
They broke the wormhole for you.
Don't let Federation join the Federation.
Loved the scene where Dukat calls up Wayun from his still functioning Federation shuttle.
Yay!
He calls up Wayun acting like, hey guys, we had a great fucking victory. And Wayun's like, no, we didn't. We just got our asses handed to us. No. It's amazing. This is the best victory the Dominion has ever had. We cut off the Bajorans from their gods. Like like to him, that's the most important thing that has happened ever. Oh, and Cisco's gonna be real sad.
Like, I really wish that at that point they cut back to Wayoon as he had a fatal fucking aneurysm. And they just
had to wheel in a new clone of Wayoon.
They've got one already strapped to like one of those fucking gurneys. And, for fuck's sake.
Whip out the next Wayoon. This one can't deal with it anymore.
The whole, like, every interaction they had was amazing.
Yeah.
At first just him and Damar, first of all, like, God, you fuck ups. And Damar's like, weapons platform. And he's like, maybe you're not. And then Dukat walks
but
in.
it has a centralized power source that is very easy to destroy if you just trick the platforms into firing on it. Sorry, Damar. You're back on the list.
No one ever considers the Federation always pulls weird magic. And what I appreciated, too, is when the chief suggests weird magic, and Kira makes a face like, what the fuck is he talking about? And Worf goes, no, it might work. And she's like, okay, do that then. Fucking humans. But yeah, then Dukat shows up, and he's just like, just obsessed with killing Cisco now, and Wayoon's like, you've really lost the plot.
He doesn't care about the war. He cares about his own shit, which is hilarious.
He is like that. He is the possessive, abusive ex-boyfriend, not only of Cisco, but of Bajor.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Like, Bajor is the one that got away, and he doesn't like it. He like, no, Bajor belongs to me. I know what's best for Bajor because Bajor is for me.
Yeah, he is very Skullcrusher Mountain.
Yeah, not a bad comparison. I'm going to have the song stuck in my head.
So,
it's a good song.
Let's talk about the Coast-Emojan, because the Coast-Emojan lived in a Bajoran tablet that was buried underground for thousands of years, and he also lived in that little statue that Dukat
I imagine
open.
There's like an energy that connects things or something.
Yeah, that's
like,
what would make
sense. So
sense.
the Coast-Emojan, even though it's a singular entity, so to speak, it can live in multiple things at once.
Well, it's got a bunch of Horcruxes.
Yeah, it's unclear, and it's also in a future episode. It is confirmed that is Coast-Emojan. This one, it could just literally be any Pah Wraith,
just a Pah Wraith.
for argument's sake. But I happen to know it gets confirmed that is Coast-Emojan, which was the inhabitant of Jake in that episode with the fireball fight.
Well, you can tell it's him because it had his eyes.
But yeah, with the bizarre nature of the prophets and the Pah Wraiths, I feel like it's not a huge stretch to say that their essence could easily be divided and, exist in multiple vessels. Like, if anything, now it's more powerful because, oh shit, there's two bits of me that are together now.
Yeah.
Or it's like how the prophets live outside of time, that the Pah Wraiths could live outside of space.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
I just figured they have a home and he's got a summer home. It's not that unusual. If you were a god, you'd have a couple of houses.
I guess I would also think of it as not necessarily, inside this little doll is a Pah Wraith or is part of a Pah Wraith, so much as inside of this is some sort of thing that is a more effective and stronger conduit that makes that by which the Pah Wraith could more easily flow through and interact with the physical
it's a cell phone.
Yeah, it's a cell tower. It's a signal booster.
Costco emoji was hanging out somewhere.
Costco
nice.
Costco
Dukat
emoji.
broke the thing and he was like, I gotta take this. Ahoy hoy. What's that? You want to cut off the Bajorans from their gods? I'll be right there.
See, I think it was also like Dukat didn't realize it was going to destroy the wormhole. I don't think he had any idea what it was going to do. I think he thought it was just going to go kill the prophets.
Yeah.
And the fact that now the wormhole is gone, it means all the Dominion folk currently in the Alpha Quadrant still aren't going to get reinforcements, and now they can't go home. And what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Definitely getting some big Belloq energy off of Dukat in this one.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, with his suddenly he's like, we're just gonna use their gods, and this obsession with Bajoran relics. And I'm like, this is very mid 20th century fascist. Like, get yourself
that Belloq. Okay,
yeah.
I thought, I was thinking of The First Federation.
Belloq. Who's Belloq
Bel-
again? I know this has come up before.
He's from the Indiana Jones.
Sure, I believe you.
He's the one that wants to use the Ark of the Covenant
As a weapon.
because and he's a Nazi, so
Because that's what
it makes
Nazis
sense
did. They
that
wanted
they're using a
Yeah.
Jewish relic
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, he was like Indiana Jones's French equivalent. But yeah, like especially when he's setting out the thing and then he does the ritual, but it doesn't go quite as expected. Like I don't think he was expecting to get possessed either.
Nah, he was
I
expecting
think he
something
was.
powerful.
Really?
I think possession. I think possession was an accepted possibility to Dukat
That's fair.
That's a good way to put it.
because he's been doing his Bajoran research, and we've saw recently we've seen a bunch of times where Pah Wraiths have possessed people at this point. I feel like that's something that he could have access to.
Yeah, good point. I just love the idea of like for the past several months, Dukat's just been in the basement of Cardassian libraries like fucking Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the question is, was Kost Imogen also the Pah Wraith that inhabited Keiko that time?
Oh.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Maybe there's only one Pah Wraith. Maybe it's
Was that one
all
straight up
Cosimo.
killed or just flushed out of her?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Because if it was killed, then maybe not.
I don't know that you can.
Still
kill a
could
Pah
be
Wraith.
because they exist outside of time, but... What were you saying, Jake?
I said I don't know that you can kill a Pah Wraith, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's probably
know.
it can't be too easy.
I'm sure the prophets can kill them.
Sure.
Or-
Well, they can, but they got to use that chest beam of light.
Yeah.
They got to do the wizard fight.
Yes.
Can we talk about Dax?
Yes.
And just like I have problems with both her death scenes effectively.
I want to hear these problems.
So like, okay, the way it plays out, right, is she's in, the Bajoran temple and talking to the prophets and everything's coming up Jadzia and it's great. And then suddenly, because for whatever reason, even during a war, there's no security system that will detect secret transport activity on DS9. Dukat comes in, he bamfs in, he kills her, he does the thing, and then he bamfs out. And then the next scene that continues this is Bashir coming out in, his red dress, being like, I'm sorry, I meant to say the symbiont, but I couldn't do anything for Jadzia. And then literally seconds later, she's still alive. Like, she's dying, but like, she's still alive.
But she's barely there.
Plot has made her survive long enough to apologize about the baby.
I hated
And
that.
then she died. When like
She needed a better end line.
like she was, and the fact that she was immediately Worfed is what she was when Dukat shows up, because he shows up and there's not like, I was like, I would at least expect like she could go down with a fight and then that would be her last scene. And then the next scene, they're with her corpse because she already got her goodbye, her loving goodbye with Worf before, with like, he even like did the like a half dip for their kiss. It was all very loving and sweet. And then they left. And I'm like, that's a good term to leave it on. That's very merciful. It's nice. They could have had a fight before he left and then he would regret that forever.
Yeah.
Instead, it was
he could
this.
still do the yell. He could still do the yell and chant over the recently deceased corpse.
Right.
It would still be meaningful.
Instead, it was just long enough for her to be like, the baby, I'm sorry. And I don't see how that was needed.
It's funny because I think it was Renee Echeverria, because it was at least one person on the writing team, because they've been trying to figure out the Jadzia death since they learned Terry Farrell was leaving. And they're like, well, we should kill her off so that it's clear that why she's no longer around after this season of hype of building her up as Worf's wife. So that there's like a finality to Jadzia, and then I think they determined later on that the Dax symbiont would survive. And originally it was going to be like, what if she goes and has a final battle with Dukat / Kost Imogen / whatever else is going on, and that she just gets phasered to death and dies? And I think it was Renee Echeverria that says, I think there needs to be a goodbye moment with her and Worf. If not with her and anybody else in that room, that they really, really wanted that goodbye moment and for her to have survived long enough to have that.
Yeah, I disagree completely. I feel
I
like
think
it stretched it out.
blow up in a shuttle is fun.
I don't think that extra scene gave any nice emotion. Like, I'm sure they were thinking
No,
like,
and like you
making
said,
an emotional
it
cherry on it.
it reduced and undercut her again.
Yeah.
One more time. Let's define Jadzia by like
Baby.
her relationship to like
Boys.
the men and like, you know.
Yeah. And especially
Yuck.
since in the previous scene, like she didn't even get much of a send off there either, because like it was essentially Tasha Yar all over again, just insta death.
Yeah.
Which I think I would have been okay with insta-death, just because I think it would have shown the brutality of the Coast-Emojan.
Yeah.
That is reasonable, but
The fact that in this gigantic Dominion war, which has had casualties in the many millions, the fact that every single one of our characters has survived this whole time leads you to think the stakes aren't as high as they actually are. So yes, killing somebody in the middle of this war, aces. I'm surprised it hasn't happened a couple times. Killed Rom. Fucking damn it. So I
Lita.
support.
Could you also get Lita?
Why not? Yeah,
They have to play baseball in a few weeks.
Oh, God damn it. But yeah, so I think, giving her a wartime death would also have been interesting to me as a way to like cement like, yes, this does still suck, by the way. I know we keep having occasional small victories, but Jesus Christ, war is stupid.
yeah, you don't always get to survive war just because you're a prominent character.
Yep.
Like sometimes you just die.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that having it so that, you know, there's this big battle going on where it's going to be very dangerous and ships are being destroyed left and right at this battle. And then, you know, so you kind of could be lulled into thinking, okay, Jadzia is going to be safe because she's back at home.
Mm.
And then, oh, well, that's where the death actually happened. That's where the true danger was there.
That would have been nice if they underscored that. Like if the crew of the Defiant were more in danger, and you're left wondering if, you know, if something's going to happen to them, and then plot twist, it's Jadzia who gets it. That would have been
one thing about that battle too, though, is that like it did not feel to me like the stakes were all that high for our crew. Like it was immediately at the start of the battle, you see like the Jem'Hadar doing kamikaze runs and taking out Klingon battle cruisers, and it's a shit show. But the Defiant seemed okay the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me upset because I know like there was a big deal in like a scene that Jake wants to be on the Defiant so he can keep doing his reportering thing. Sure, Jake, whatever the fuck you want. You're a main character. You can be on the main ship, and if it blows up, all the main characters get killed. Good for you. And that never really came up except like one scene where it's like, Jake, you're underfoot. Get out of the fucking way.
The crew of the Defiant was in more danger in the last episode when Sisko decided of his own volition that he and two other main characters were gonna go down on a tiny craft into a planet that could just easily buckle the entire thing in on itself. Like, or at least that's how it felt, you know?
Actually, yeah, if they had put Jake on, like, say, Martok's ship or something, and and then you would have seen the tension of the crew knowing that Jake was in danger, like maybe something was happening to Martok's ship, and you know Jake was in danger.
And watching his, like you said, Jem'Hadar kamikaze ships are just like smashing into
or even just any other Starfleet ship, because they're all just cannon fodder.
That would have all been that would have all been very interesting to
raise those
have
stakes.
That sudden left turn into Dax's death, and then maybe not have her live long enough to say sorry about the baby.
Like when somebody, I think it's Kira on the bridge of the Defiant says like, oh, we're getting a phone call from somebody. You think like, is it one of the ships saying that they're going out, or is it, coming from home? Like having a moment of fuck who just died might have been nice.
Yeah.
And then for that twist of, oh, it was not what we were expecting. Twist the fucking knife.
Yeah.
But yeah, if she had to live, her last word should have been something like, stomp on Ducat's nuts, or something.
I also hated
Avenge me.
Ducat's gross little, like, if it's any consolation, I didn't mean you any harm, or whatever the fuck. It was like...
Felt very in character, though.
Yeah, it was him. I didn't mind it.
It's the kind of thing he would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's the hero.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's like, oh no, I did something not heroic, but that wasn't my fault.
I think he is one of the most consistent characters in this show. Like, even after he's gone off the deep end and his ultimate goal has changed somewhat, his motivation and basic moral structure are almost completely unaltered.
Hear, hear.
Which is what? He wants to bang Bajorans?
He wants Bajorans to thank him for being him.
Yeah.
He wants them to see how much better it would have been if he was still in charge.
Thank you for being Gotaka.
Yeah!
So I might have missed.
Thank you for being a gull.
There we go.
I might have missed the strategic importance of Chintaka. Was it? Because I know they were like, oh, we got to take out their shipyards and stuff, but it didn't look like that was a shipyard.
So it's also a step closer to Cardassia Prime. And it was an option because Damar had moved some ships to deal with Romulan incursions.
Oh,
and so this weakened that area in general, which is kind of what made it a candidate.
Yeah, this was before they knew about those battle droid things.
Yeah.
Battle platforms.
Well, also, like, I know, so at the end of the battle, after it, they took out the platforms and it was pretty clear that they'd won, I noticed that there were, like, other than the Jem'Hadar, there was not a lot of ships at all there. They got rid of the Jem'Hadar pretty quickly, and then it was just the platforms. So as soon as they were able to take out the platforms, they had a clear path to the planet and, all set. But I noticed that Martov's like, all right, we're going to land some ground troops. And I know we've talked about that before. And like, why? Why are we landing ground troops? We have spaceships.
I mean, I guess it's theoretically possible the planet also has ground defenses that can be used against starships.
Well, I guess you also have
Klingons prefer that hand-to-hand shit. They want to feel the blood of their enemies spraying on their faces.
That's what I was thinking. Is it just that is Martok sending people down there to slaughter the populace?
No, the soldiers.
Or at least to
I'm
seal
sure
the
that's
deal,
it.
like to go into whatever, capital or headquarters, and just occupy this place that they've just won over.
Yeah, because you want to keep the system, and that means taking the planets as well.
Yeah.
Apropos of nothing, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is Odo and Kira were having a spat.
Yeah. I forgot that among the 12 other plots.
Yeah, I found that
Odo was doing his job.
Not so bad. It actually made me like Odo and Kira a little more as a couple because of how they handled that side plot.
I thought the resolution
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I thought the resolution, like, that I was like, okay, this scene is nice. Like, that the way they patch it up. Like,
I loved Odo's line.
Mm-hmm.
He says something to the effect of, observing relationships and being in one are different things. And I said, good for you, Odo. That's good for you. I like it.
Like, it's a fine arc. It should have been in an episode that was less busy and less crucial.
Yeah,
Well, otherwise, Odo had nothing to do. And then Kira eventually ends up taking control of the Defiant for reasons.
Because Ben Sisko had felt the
disturbance in the
I
force.
thought Worf took over when there was no Sisko, though.
I think Kira.
Didn't she
I
get
know she's
Deep
not
Space
Starfleet, but I
Nine?
think she when she's on the Defiant, she's basically the second in command. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I would
weird. The thing is, she's normally not there, so.
Does
Like, it is-
Bajor still have a non-aggression pact with the Dominion?
Good point. I imagine they do. That's having a Bajoran officer command an assault ship is kind of a bad look. Kai Winston.
No one told anybody that Kira was there. She just wanted to get away from Odo because she's actually still pissed.
They should just give her a Starfleet commission just so they can
Wait,
get
I
around.
don't think she'd take it.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I think she'd be like, "Fuck this uniform. I hate it."
Yeah.
I don't like the cut of this uniform.
Nah.
It makes me not look approachable enough.
Shoulders. Ugh.
There was one moment that hasn't come up yet that I wanted to at least call attention to and acknowledge, which was
Yes.
Damar and Wayoon with the
I was going to bring that up.
all this talk of gods reeks of superstitious nonsense.
Yeah.
But your people worship the changelings. That doesn't count.
Just
That's
they
They
real.
are gods.
That's totally real.
His delivery of "that's different. They are gods" is just like 100% genuine. It's so
Yep.
perfect.
Yep.
I just love Wayoon. I know he's a bad little bastard, but I really like him.
Oh, he's great.
Can't help it. I have to say that, and I think Chris disagreed with me when I said this, but I'm going to say it again anyway. Because
I
I'm
haven't-
just looking to be offended.
I haven't heard what this is yet. What are we talking about?
Well, I was annoyed at the end because I feel like, aside from Jadzia being like, sorry about the baby,
Quickly
I-
harvest my eggs.
I felt like Ben goes in and is like, I have to talk to you one more time. And I felt almost like he made it all about him. Like, I felt like her being gone was suddenly all about him. And I agree that some of it was very sweet, but some of it just felt like, I don't know. I was a little put off by it.
Yeah, I
guess.
read a little about, because the writers like had so many drafts of that final monologue because they needed it to be weighty, because two things have happened. We've lost Dax and we've lost the wormhole. So Sisko has lost both things that he was fucking responsible for, being his crew and being the fucking Bajoran emissary nonsense. And they had to make sure that it was clear that there was enough going on for Sisko to want to take his ball and leave. Without just being like, oh, my friend died. Meh.
They wanted to put him at his wit's end.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
I
should
mean,
do our,
and at least at that
end of
like
season
at that
things.
point he's he's talking to a corpse at that point. Like he's talking to the memory of her. Which, that can be a moment where you're thinking less of that person because they're not there anymore. But it's a fair critique. I think it's just, it was meant to be our moment of seeing Sisko's just height of vulnerability.
I'm fed up. Yeah. Well, and I think it's also difficult in like a 45-minute episode of television to like really do like a grief thing.
Yeah, especially
Like,
since so many things happened in this episode.
Yeah.
Oh
they
my
had to-
god, so
I feel
many.
overwhelmed by all the things.
Overwhelmed, you say?
Overwhelmed. Will
Yes.
Wheaton.
Tops
Yeah,
and bottoms.
Tops and bottoms. Oh, man.
Oh, we're
I
doing
mean, it
it
is
now?
running.
We're running very long. I have to
Right,
sign
how do
off.
we want to do this?
The way
we always do.
The way we always do. Try to take over the world.
Hey.
Hey.
Liz, you start.
No, I don't want to start.
Tops or bottoms?
Bottoms.
Bottoms first.
Yep.
Bottoms
I'll go.
up.
Go.
His Way, because fuck that stupid episode. Profit and Lace, because fuck that stupid episode. And Tears of the Prophets, because how fucking dare you, as usual, fucking Star Trek, kill off a great fucking character with a bullshit fucking episode. Fuck this bullshit episode. Done.
I'll go next. Yeah, from least worst to worst. You know what? I'm actually going to make a last minute swap.
Whoa, you never do that, Chris.
How
You have the
dare
courage
you.
of your convictions.
Not today.
Tears of the Prophets.
Oh shit.
Wow.
A
Copycat.
really just cluttered mess of an episode. Like you said, Ames, so much happened, but we haven't gained any ground. And what a terrible way to write off Jadzia. 2, His Way. I like the idea of it, but the execution was terrible.
I don't even like the idea of it, so good try, Chris.
And Profit and Lace, because Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, and I didn't make that clear, but I would say that would be mine as well. It would be the worst was Prophet and Lace, and the least worst was Tears of the Prophet.
Okay.
With His Way couched in between.
Mm.
But yeah, Prophet and Lace was terrible. It was
Offensive.
offensive. And I mean, like,
And I think
Code of Honor Season 1 of TNG offensive.
Here, I'll
Just-
go next because I want to build on that.
Yuck.
Because my least favorite is also Prophet and Lace. And the thing that I really hate about Prophet and Lace is that while we've seen racist, misogynistic, ableist episodes in the past and all this shit, this one just tried to make a joke out of it, which is
Yeah.
emphatically wrong. And make it like the worst you can do with this kind of material is try to make it a joke.
Yeah, that's true.
My other absolutely stupid episodes this season, His Way, pointless, entirely pointless. And my final, it's close between these two. So honorable mention to Chime's Orphan, because I felt that was never fucking established. But my third on the list is going to be statistical probabilities, because fuck Jack and his crew.
I was going to say, that was Bashir's Angels.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I'll go next because this is funny.
What's funny?
So, and I'll hold it up to the camera so that you can see it.
Oh, hang on. I'm typing on my fucking
to
thing.
prove that I'm not bullshitting. So my bottoms are in basically this order from least worst, or from most worst to least worst. Prophet and Lace, for the reasons that have already been established. His Way for having too many goddamn musical numbers. And then my third least favorite this season was Time's Orphan, with an honorable mention to statistical probabilities.
Yes.
Wow.
You can't. There it is. I wrote. It was written in my phone.
Damn.
Can't see it, but so I'm very close to Ames. Just flipped that last bit.
So, since I did my first ever 11th hour swap, the original least worst for me was One Little Ship.
Oh yeah, One Little
Oh,
Ship was
really?
shitty.
Yeah, I really hated that one.
That was just a nothing episode. I didn't find anything particularly offensive about it personally, but
What about Liz, though?
So yeah, see, like it's my least worst. That's hard to pick.
yeah.
But I think in terms
There's a
of
lot
like,
of competition there.
if
There was a lot that was not good this season. There was a lot that was good, and then a lot that was not good. It was weird.
I think the tough thing for me is that at least like most of the not good episodes for me this season still had something where I was like, all right, this part's interesting. At least this idea, this concept over here, like statistical probabilities, like there's something in there that could have been really interesting. And I think that some of the aspects of it are like kind of cool, but that's gonna be on my bottom three because just the way it depicts any kind of neurodivergence or mental disabilities, like I couldn't. The whole time I was like, this is the most, like, this is all that classic stereotypical bullshit
They were
on a
very
show that already
one-dimensional.
underscores the importance of counseling. Just
Well, and not to mention we had the what the fuck were they called?
The Packlets?
Yep, those ones, the Packlets,
Hey.
who were like our low intellect aliens, and
Yeah.
ugh.
yeah.
Ugh.
So then, I mean, the first one that was immediately when I was thinking, what are my bottom three? His Way, of course, entered onto my list for all the creepiness, for all the gross turn the no into the yes, for the unnecessariness of Vic Fontaine. And I legit was like, yeah, I'm going to be going into this. This is going to be my least favorite episode. And then I rewatched Prophet and Lace, and I was like, nope,
I'm
never
so
mind.
Sorry. Yeah.
I forgot about Prophet and Lace and how incredibly bad it was and how awful the whole thing was. Just I forgot about the surgical aspect of it
Yep.
and just all of the just this is what what is it about him that becomes a woman? Oh, it's just all of his like, oh, I can't handle this, is too much. Fuck all of that.
I have emotions. I'm feeling so emotional now.
I'm glad I read the Memory Alpha article about it because that saved my respect for Armin Shimmerman and what he said about his frustrations with that episode. I'm like, okay, all right. You're all right. Everyone else you're on notice just for writing this episode and executing it, because what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, and
You love
Alexander
Armin.
Siddig for trying to like put in serious aspects of it. Everyone else, you should be ashamed. Ashamed.
They
the worst
thought this was a
episode.
good idea. They thought it was going to be a fucking classic.
First red flag.
So, what was your least worst ultimately?
Statistical probabilities.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Third worst.
Yeah. Worst is Prophet and fucking Lace.
Oh god, the worst.
You heard me rant about His Way. You didn't. You should have seen me watching this episode. I was legit
man.
curling in on myself, hiding my face, like, no, God, what? Oh no, it got worse.
You are at this point. Our episode hasn't gone live for Liz to hear yet. But
Nope.
there were 2 times during watching that episode that I say, like, I set my notes down on the table and I was going to get up and storm out, and I realized, oh wait, I have to watch this for the fucking podcast. Sit back down.
I've almost done that.
I have to stay.
I had to do that for what's it? Star Trek. Wrath of Benedict Cumberbatch. I paused that movie and walked out of the room the first time I watched it. And then a few minutes later came back and I'm like, I'm going to finish this trash heap, I guess. I almost did that for Prophet and Lace. It was almost like,
Yeah.
I think at one point I did pause. I'm like, I need a drink. I will get a drink
Prophet and
afterward.
Lace-
I don't need it right now. But, oh, God.
Prophet and Lace is for me a serious contender for the worst episode of any
Period.
Star Trek that we've watched.
Oh yeah.
I would put it worse than Code of Honor, and I fucking hate Code of Honor.
Yeah, it's real fucking bad.
I'd rather watch Spock's brain.
Oh yeah.
I'd rather watch Bem.
Spock's brain was. Oh no, I don't know if I'd go that far.
Bem, you know what? Bem's shorter.
Bem's
That's
shorter.
true. It is shorter, and there's considerably less rape.
Yeah.
no,
Which one's Bem?
Bem's better.
Bem is a TAS episode with the...
Oh, it's fucking terrible.
It's
got a
Bem
really
is like
annoying alien in it.
an entity made up of several little entities,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and he makes dumb noises, as I recall.
Yeah.
Honestly, we've seen some shit since then. TAS might be a fucking breath of fresh air nowadays.
No.
No, it's still pretty.
Speaking
bad.
of
That
breaths of
almost-
fresh
You're like,
air,
no, it's not getting carried
That
away.
almost broke me.
Still pretty bad.
let's talk about our breaths of fresh air this season, because there were
Yes.
some.
Hard for me.
I had trouble.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason I had trouble is because I feel like this season was like mostly good. Like, okay. Again, obviously there are some very clear like aberrations. Prophet and Lace, the worst thing ever. I think that I would have to say Far Beyond the Stars is like numero uno. Because it was really fucking good and I really liked it. And then I have Honor Among Thieves, because watching O'Brien suffer is always a good time.
That one was a good one.
And I just really liked the relationship between him and Jonesy, or whatever his name was. And what was his name? Wasn't Jonesy.
No, Jonesy's the cat from Alien.
Whatever his name was. They had really good chemistry. And it's just more like O'Brien can't be happy porn. And then I actually, again from this week, and I know it's probably just because I have a short memory, but I put in The Sound of Her Voice, because
cool.
as much as I thought that the ending was wibbly wobbly, which I really don't tend to like, I thought that the acting was really, really strong. I thought that I keep almost calling her Joan Cusack, and that's not it. Was it Kim?
Lisa.
Yeah, sure, Lisa. Lisa Cusack was phenomenal. The amount of I feel like you really got to know her in spite of never seeing her. And I just honestly, I was annoyed by some of it. And then the end speeches from Bashir and O'Brien just made me go, okay, you just won me back. I'm in. I like this episode. So I just thought it was good. Thought it was real good.
That's
it was nice to and I think part of the difficulty of deciding tops and bottoms, this was the other thing, is that the first 6 episodes
It's
are
one big
one
episode.
big fucking episode, and we talked about, oh yeah, this is this one and this is this one, and I was like, yeah, they're all fine. So I feel I didn't feel very strongly about any of those. I thought they were good. I thought it was a good 6-part series, but I couldn't have picked any of them. You know what I mean?
No,
For
I
a top
agree
or
with
a
that.
bottom.
Yeah.
But then again, everything else, a lot of it was pretty good. The bad was really bad, but everything else was mostly good, with the one real true highlight being Far Beyond the Stars, which was magnificent. Though speaking of magnificent, I guess, was that this season?
Yeah.
I would give that. So I jotted down Waltz and Who Mourns for Morn, and I guess I would also give honorable mention to the Magnificent Ferengi. I don't want the Ferengi in my top because of how awful Prophet and Lace was.
That's fair.
It's
the whole species has just been
it's well, it was a resounding ugh, across the entirety of the series of just every Ferengi episode I ever loved, I love a little less now.
Nog. We still love Nog.
No, yeah, Nog is perfect. But yeah. So anyway, that's
So
it.
how many times is the Magnificent Ferengi on Chris's list?
It's the whole list.
None.
Whoa! Okay, I'm surprised. I thought you loved that one.
I did, but
What did
I
you
mean,
love, Chris?
It coexists in the same season as Waltz, Far Beyond the Stars, and In the Pale Moonlight.
All right.
I couldn't really remember the pale moonlight.
It's a fake.
it's a
Scheming with Garrick to kill a Romulan senator.
I can live
That
with
is a
that.
good one.
Yeah, see
Yeah.
that one, as I segue into my list, that one's so hard for me just because I know it's objectively held up so high by a lot of people, so it's hard to actually look at it from a way that I'm trying to judge it from my own standards.
Sure.
Just because it's memes. It's so many memes now, so it's I walk in already knowing it, kind of like how I walked into City on the Edge of Forever. My tops and bottoms, yeah. So just because In the Pale Moonlight is memes at this point, I wasn't able to really think of it subjectively. So
Fair.
the ones I ended up going with are Rocks and Shoals, which I
Ooh,
really like.
interesting.
It's in that clump of 6.
Yeah.
But I think it stands apart because we get to see a lot of like that stuff on the planet with Kevon and it's not Talak Talan. Whichever the Jem'Hadar third of that planet was, who I really liked.
The one that had been in Miri.
Yeah, the Miri Kid
Poopy
guy.
Butthole.
I really liked him, and I kind of loved that arc there. I forget anything that was happening on DS9 during that episode, but that's the stuff that I really liked.
That's
Was
fair.
that the Alpha and Beta
No.
Jem'Hadars, or was that?
that was
That
one
was
little
one
ship.
little ship.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I did really dislike One Little Ship. I forgot that was part of that episode.
Damn. My number 2 is Waltz. Because
Such a good one.
Ducat's great, but also it builds in such an amazing way for a show with 2 fucking characters in it.
Yeah.
And best of the best is Far Beyond the Stars, just because it's fucking amazing.
Cool. So for me, well, I have to give. So I actually had originally put Rocks and Shoals as my third,
Oh, shit.
but I swapped it out. So I gave it an honorable mention because I actually wanted to give some love to Inquisition.
That was my honorable mention. God damn it. Jake and I are like the inverse person.
Yeah, because I don't know. Even though I object to the existence of Section 31 in every other context, I don't know. I just really liked the character of Sloane and the mind games. And I don't know. It was just a really fascinating episode. Next up is going to be Far Beyond the Stars.
Ooh.
And like, honestly, I'll explain when I get to the top one why I picked it as the top one. But Far Beyond the Stars, it could very easily be the top one as well. And I think for me, I don't know. I'm a sucker for episodes of shows that do something really unexpected, but are still really good. Like Ames and I have been watching this series called Mythic Quest on Apple.
Mm.
And
it's Rob McElhady's new show.
Yeah. It's the guys from Always Sunny did it, and like it's interesting because it's not great. Like the first few episodes are kind of meh,
Generic.
like
generic
very
sitcom.
generic sitcom about
Every character is a
video game
trope.
company, and then out of left field, I think it's the 5th episode, so like right in the middle of the season, they plop in this episode that just takes place in a completely different time, completely different characters, no overlap, different everything, and it's like, okay, somehow this is the best episode of this show. And I think that Far Beyond the Stars kind of did a similar thing, although Far Beyond the Stars actually did tie it back to their show. It would have been weird if it had just been an episode that took place, on Earth in the 20th century.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it could almost be interchanged with my top choice, which is In the Pale Moonlight.
Oh, I was gonna say The Magnificent Ferengi. Dang it. I was
God,
so
no.
close.
I mean, I still like Magnificent Ferengi. It is not top anything though. Yeah, In the Pale Moonlight, I think maybe I have an appreciation for it because I remember it and I have strong memories of that episode from before it was really a meme fodder. And like it was an episode that just blew my mind when I first saw it because it is not what you expect from Star Trek. You don't expect the heroes of Star Trek to be doing these things, and it's just so well done. And you get to the end of it, and you're like, okay, this was really like this. I don't know how to feel about this. Obviously, there's a lot of ethical problems here with what Sisko does.
Yeah,
But
and
at
then
the
it
same
stays
time,
with you. Yeah.
Yeah, at the same time, I understand why he did them, and in ways I agree with them. So thank you, Star Trek, for making me feel that way. So those are mine.
That's lovely. What about Liz?
Oh God. Well,
And Liz.
and Liz. I'm glad that's a thing now.
I love it.
That's always been a thing.
So I overlap with you folks a lot. I have 5 written down just because I had to. There was some shuffling around because there were so many
It's
different
hard.
things I like. So like, I guess the honorable mention category would like that's. I think that's where I'm going to put Inquisition. And I also had jotted down Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night, mainly because I think I think the reasoning behind that is like it's. In a season full of just men writing women, this was surprisingly not bad. And I think that's what, like, it's getting enough, like, it got jotted down for honorable mention, and, like, looking at it, I'm like, this is how low the bar was set, guys.
Oh, no.
You just need to think of them as people
Yep.
with complex life situations and decisions. And I feel like, I feel like they at least didn't fetishize the situation in a way that could easily have happened. Inquisition is just, it's all the things that Liv's loved. It's intrigue, it's mind games, it's Bashir being serious business and figuring things out.
Twists on twists.
And being like, you know, like I love competent Bashir. It's great. So then my actual 3 will be Far Beyond the Stars for all the reasons mentioned so far. Like, especially as a love letter to, or tribute to the unsung, you know, predecessors, you know, forebears of science fiction. Like, that's something that I remember enjoying it in, you know, past watches in my younger days, but watching it now after having, you know, read the sci-fi that I read, after coming to an understanding of the history of science fiction in that era, I was like, no, this is cool. I get it. I think it would be higher on my list if, like, the tie-in just felt, you know, wasn't strong enough for me into the main plot of the show, and so that was like, all right, that part just feels like it's just tacked on. You know, it'll do, and just move on. So then next after that would be Waltz, because it's just such good, just characters charactering at each other. Dukat is glorious. Cisco is great up against that gloriousness of Dukat. It's just, I also love seeing a villain just unravel. It's great. And then, you know, I'm sure it's a shock, but In the Pale Moonlight is my top. Like,
the Magnificent Ferengi. Oh, right.
Yes. That's what I meant. Yeah, In the Pale Magnificent Ferengi. I've already talked about it, but like and I feel like Jake's already touched on it, in that it questions the utopia of Star Trek, and it, you know, shows that, you know, someone taking the fall to preserve that utopia, or to make, you know, to make things right and make things happen. And I love how after that episode, it's still those hard decisions and those challenges and those real, like, tough situations, those high stakes still stick with me. Like, just, you know, watching that interaction with the Romulan senator and everyone else.
Drinking the fake ass Romulan ale.
But just, well, I mean, like in Tears of the Prophets, like, just that whole time that he's in there and they're trying to play nice with him, and they're, you know, coordinating with him to send their people in to go get shot down. Like, yeah, and they're all in there under false pretense. That's, like, this entire time, like, that's undercutting, that's underlying the whole relationship for me, and I find that interesting. Like, that, you know, and nobody knows except for a select few. So I love it. I love that. I thought this was a pretty solid season overall.
Yeah, only one left now. One DS9 season left.
Oh boy.
Crazy.
I know, I'm sad. I'm sad for it to be over.
I'm sad to lose Terry Farrell, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, we got a little bit of time before we need to acknowledge it formally. Because what are we doing next week?
Well, next week, Chris, I'm glad you asked. We're going to be talking about a TNG documentary. Wow, documentary. Good job, Caitlin, with the words. It's called Chaos on the Bridge. And apparently it's being presented by William Shatner, which I have mixed feelings about. But we're going to do that. It's about, I don't know, like a retrospective on TNG.
Yeah, if we'd thought ahead, we would have done it right after TNG, but we just realized, hey, wait a minute, we're through DS9. We should touch on that before we finish DS9.
And then there's also a DS9 documentary, so I think you know what's going to happen later.
The Magnificent Ferengi.
And then there's DS10.
Ooh,
Right.
my favorite DS.
All right, so that'll be fun for next week.
Yeah. Until then, if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, if you're like, wow, I'm super excited to know about their tops and bottoms, but I haven't heard anything else about Season 6, you can listen to that shit and everything before it. You can find A Star to Steer Her By where all fine podcasts are sold. We are on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, We're also on Facebook. You can find us by searching A Star to Steer Her By on Facebook.com. You can also find us at SSHB Podcast on Tumblr and Twitter. Or you can visit our website, sshbpodcast.com. That's Star Steer Her By podcast.com.
Yeah, you take the articles and the prepositions out. That's normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, and these episodes are going to be up on the Tumblr probably now. I've probably done it already. Future aims, get on it, so that you can see these episodes on a Tumblr post, as well as having just listened to them now.
You get to see all the beautiful screen caps that Ames took.
Yep.
And you'll get to see how we all compared to each other in terms of what we liked and what we didn't like. It's great. It's good shit. And you can see every past season. You can see fan fictions, some random articles about aesthetics and bad admirals, or as I like to call them, badmirals. And yeah, I don't know if I've ever made that joke before, and if I had, I'm not sorry. So, too bad. This has been Caitlin.
This has been Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is Liz.
And Liz.
Thanks, guys.
And Liz. Rule of Acquisition 285. No good deed goes unpunished.